Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my siblings with our mother's funeral plans and for telling them I do not want to be named in her obituary? My mother died 2 days ago. My siblings were all with her when she died. I was not. She was a bully to me and hated my guts for as long as I can remember. Not sure if it was the fact that I was the kid who looked so much like Dad, the fact she was young when she got pregnant with me and resented me for it, or whether I was just unlucky. But she gave me a horrific childhood. And my dad died when we were all young, so I was left to watch her dote on my siblings and treat me like trash. I got to hear all the time that I ruined her life, that she wished she had aborted me, that she dreamed of me dying and getting the relief knowing she'd never have to see me again. I ended up staying with friends from the age of 15, and I hadn't seen her since my 20th birthday, when she showed up with my siblings and told me she wanted to puke just looking at me. I never told her I was gay, never introduced her to my partner or my children. When my siblings called to tell me she was dying, I was so happy. Knowing she's gone, knowing that the woman who hated me for reasons out of my control, who made sure I know how much she never wanted me, filled me with such a feeling of relief. But of course, my siblings are heartbroken. They wanted me to be involved. I told them no way, no how. I said she was a great mother to them and that was fine. But she was evil to me. She was evil and made my childhood hell. And I was not a grieving child and was not spending a single second giving her a nice send-off or spending a single cent on it either. They got mad. Told me it should be split between all of us. They had already planned her obituary and told me how bad I would look if I don't help plan or don't show up. So I told them to get my name off the obituary because the woman they described was not my mother. We argued. They told me I was behaving just as badly as her by taking it out on them when they did nothing wrong. I told them I just wanted them to leave me out of it. I told them to pretend we're half siblings and I have a different mother out there if it helps. They told me I could at least do it for them and to think about how hard this has been for them. The fighting just keeps on going and it actually delayed the funeral planning since they spent more time trying to convince me than doing any planning. They keep asking for my opinion, etc., trying to draw me in, then get mad and tell me I am treating them badly. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your siblings can't force you to be involved. Your experience of her as your mother is clearly very different to theirs. Stand firm. And tell them again that you are not interested. You will not be going and you will not be contributing financially. Tell them you are not going to be discussing the subject again. Or you could agree to be in the obituary, so long as the whole thing begins with the line, "Ding dong, the witch is dead." That should make them back off. Not the a-hole. I suspect that they really want to split the cost of the funeral and this is why they are pressuring you. Not the a-hole. That said, you may want to be slightly involved for the sake of your relationship with your siblings. As you suggested, you can think of them as half-siblings with a different mom. If your half-siblings just lost their mom, how would you react? Would you be consoling? Would you consider chipping in if they were short on money? Would you want to be around for those half-siblings even though they're grieving a stranger to you? If the answer is yes, then consider helping out. If the answer is no, then stay firm. I would, assuming the person wasn't evil to me, but I hate the idea of helping give her a nice send-off. That's where the issue is. I'd love to just leave her to rot and end up forgotten. Next story. Am I the a-hole for stealing my sister's baby? My 29 little sister, female 21, we'll call her Jane, has a 14-month-old baby girl we'll call Sarah, whom I have had custody of since late June of 2022. Jane was divorcing her husband, jobless and homeless. I offered to take temporary guardianship of Sarah so she would be safe and cared for while Jane got her life together. At first, she turned me down. However, after Sarah was dropped off to our mom's house in dirty clothes and an old diaper by a stranger, while she was supposed to be under the care of her father, Jane agreed to give her to me and my wife. Now, we made clear that it would be temporary, and that Jane would still have full access and could get Sarah back whenever she felt ready. However, during the last 6 months, Jane has completely disappeared from Sarah's life. She doesn't ask about her, she doesn't make any effort to visit her, she doesn't ask us to bring her to visit. She has gotten a job and an unsafe place to stay, yet hasn't offered to take any financial responsibility, not even in the form of buying her gifts. She doesn't call to talk to her or see her. I spoke to Jane recently about all this, and her defense is that it's too emotionally hurtful to see Sarah, because of how much it hurts and how much she misses her. Her other excuse is that she doesn't have a car or enough money to afford Ubers or diapers. I told her how absolutely ridiculous all that is. You don't need a car or money to call or text. We have always made clear we'd be willing to bring Sarah to her, and she spends a wasteful amount of money on food and vapes. Even after speaking to her about the things she should or could be doing, she still has made no changes. Because of this, my wife and I have decided to look into our legal options for adoption. Sarah has legally been abandoned, and we only need to keep her a little longer before the courts would allow termination of Jane and her husband's rights, as husband is even more missing in action than Jane is. Jane is livid about this, and is threatening all kinds of things, but has done nothing. Important information. After I offered originally, and before we actually got physical custody of Sarah, my wife and I attempted IVF and failed. We haven't told anyone about this, even family. However, I told Jane about this on day one, just so that there would be full honesty and so that none of this would seem sneaky if it were to come out later. Jane is bringing this up in a very hurtful way during all this, saying that I'm trying to steal her baby, since we can't have one of our own though we have one adopted son already. And this is very far from the truth. We are genuinely worried about the safety and well-being of Sarah if she were to go back to Jane, and the fact that Jane has essentially ghosted her baby. We feel we have every right to pursue permanent guardianship and adoption. So, am I the a-hole? Edit, as several people have asked, why don't I take in my sister too? I don't have space or money for an adult. Sarah has a bed in our room, and we spend about $700 a month on her. There is no way we could cover an adult too. And even if we could, she's not someone I would live with. She is a very unclean person, doesn't shower nor wash her clothes, and hangs out with junkies and other questionable people. She lost her last living situation because her roommate was arrested for possession of meth at home. My wife and I have a 7-year-old son, and now Sarah to protect. Not the a-hole. Saying you stole Sarah is just Jane's way of abandoning her child while absolving herself of the guilt. I imagine the emotions there are pretty complicated. Stop worrying about Jane or looking bad and take comfort in the fact that you are doing what is best for Sarah. Anyone who believes Jane over you isn't worth having on your team anyway. Good luck. Not the a-hole. I am an adopted kid. My mom was an addict and knew she wouldn't get her life together. Look, wait until she can legally sever ties and don't bring this up again. Keep track of every time you reach out asking for assistance or offer to take the little baby to Sarah to her mother, and she refuses or misses an appointment. In California, it's 15 months to sever ties. Do not leave her unsupervised. Once you hit your state's threshold, lawyer up and make your case. If legally you have already temporary custody, a good portion of the battle is won. It's better to maintain the status quo and peacefully win the war than preempt an uphill battle in the family court. Bide your time, make your case open and close, and then formally adopt your daughter. I wish you all the best. Thank you. This is exactly the plan. Where does the rest of your family stand on this issue? Will they support you in this process? My mom is on the fence, but all my siblings are on my side. If your mother ever gives you pushback, you should remind her how Sarah was delivered back into her life, in dirty clothes and an old diaper. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not including my grandchildren's stepmother, step and half siblings in a family book? My youngest daughter died 9 years ago. She left behind a husband, Joe, and 3 children. My granddaughter is now 17 and my grandsons are now 16 and 15. Joe has since remarried to a lovely woman, Marie. Marie has a son and a daughter from a previous marriage, and she and Joe had a 5-year-old together. We get along fine with Marie and the other children, though I would not say we are very close, and we are definitely not like we were when my daughter was alive. That appears to now be a problem. You see, there is a book, a scrapbook type of book, where we add new members of the family to it, and the children born get little updates about them until they're grown. It was started by my grandmother, and continued by my mother and now me. It's not in the best condition, but we cherish it in the family, and those who are gone. When we look back, there's little memories in there to make us smile. Well, I do not have Marie or any of her children in this book, but they're aware of the book's existence from Joe and from my grandchildren. My oldest granddaughter and her partner became parents recently, and the book became a hot topic. And Marie was unhappy that my great-grandchild was included, but not her and her kids, because my great-grandchild is not related by blood. Joe told me the kids would love to have their whole family added to it, but then my grandchildren claimed something different, and it has become such a mess. Joe, Marie and I eventually sat down to discuss it, and they told me they feel like Marie and the kids should be shown full acceptance as part of the whole family and included. Marie also added that she should be added where Joe is, which is Paige's joint to my daughters, and I said that would never happen. She told me and her kids are just part of my family, but I told her she is not. I made it very clear she will never be my daughter. Joe told me it would set a good example for my grandchildren, for them to fully embrace Marie and the children, to drop the need for step, and see that they are all accepted just as much as he and they are. And I told him I could not do that I love him, that I love my grandchildren, but I do not love Marie or their other children. That I like them and they are good to have around, but it is not the same. Now they're angry, while my grandchildren are upset their dad wanted Marie and the other kids to be in the book. Marie called me a terrible grandmother in person, and that she had told her kids I was grandma, and now I had made their lives so much more terrible. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This woman is basically a stranger to you. You don't owe it to her to be added in the family book. And your grandchildren understand this as well. The issue is Joe and Marie. I imagine the grandchildren are hurt and feel like she's trying to shove into their memories of their mother. Love that dad lied about his kids' feelings too. Glad grandma asked them directly. I don't understand these people who marry a widow/widower and can't accept they're a widow/widower. Like, just marry someone who doesn't have that baggage if you don't want to deal with it. Not the a-hole. This is a very clear-cut case of not the a-hole. Marie and her children are not related to you by blood. Marie is not married to your son or daughter. Marie is married to your late daughter's widowed husband. Joe only happens to be in the book because he was married to your daughter, who has since died. Joe, too, has no connection to you anymore. Since your daughter is no longer around to have a say, her children need to do that for her. And they have. They don't want Marie and her children in this book. Joe should be happy that you're continuing the tradition for your daughter's children. For his older children, his mother has died, and so should Marie. If Joe and Marie care so much, they should have started a new book years ago for their own blended family. But they cannot demand that extended family members do the same. This is yet another case of step-parents trying to force relationship with their stepchildren. And in this case, she's trying to replace the dead wife/mother. I don't understand why people can't understand that step-parent is an important relationship that can exist separately from children's love for their biological parents. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my adult sister that our family isn't cursed because our parents got divorced? My 37 female sister Jan, 41, can't get over our parents' divorce. Our parents have been divorced for over 20 years. Growing up, it was evident from a young age that their marriage was messed up. Dad even cheated a lot and never tried to hide it. When I was 6 and Jan was 9, Dad got Mom a dozen roses. Using context clues from things I remember at a time and confirmation from family, he was trying to apologize for an affair that got out of hand which led to a huge fight. A few years later, Jan saw something romantic/cutesy on TV and asked why he never got Mom flowers. Dad said, "Roses are cursed and make your mom mad at me." Jan periodically brings up the "roses are cursed" BS every few years. I can't keep track of what upsets Jan. She also thinks dates that end in a 1 or 2 are cursed, blue trucks on the highway are cursed, types of food, and a bunch of other stuff nobody should be expected to remember. It was my mother's birthday this weekend, and her boyfriend hosted brunch. I wasn't thinking and got Mom an arrangement that included roses. Mom loved it and put it in the kitchen. Jan showed up later with her family, all smiles, until about an hour later when she went into the kitchen, let out a blood-curdling wail, and started crying that roses were cursed and made Mommy divorce Daddy. She then ranted that I cursed the family by bringing roses into the house on Mom's birthday. I snapped and said Mom and Dad got divorced because Dad was banging his way through our whole zip code in the 90s. Flowers aren't cursed. We are not cursed. That Dad made bad choices. And if she couldn't come to terms with that, then she needed to seek treatment because her behavior wasn't acceptable or normal. She looked at me like I had interrupted her Oscar speech. She and her husband then left and we tried to salvage the day. Mom's boyfriend thanked me, but Mom and our aunt say I'm the a-hole and that Jan is sensitive and delicate and I should have known better than to bring flowers. My husband doesn't care. He just won't go to family functions with Jan there now. Not the a-hole. Your sister clearly has a lot of unprocessed trauma from the divorce. This is absolutely not normal for a grown woman to react this way 20 plus years later. She needs serious therapy. I work with one of her former coworkers, and apparently she flipped out similarly when a colleague of hers was sent roses from her husband, which led to her being fired. This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. She was around 17 when your parents divorced? She sounds like a flipping toddler. This weird superstition is adversely affecting her family and career. You are totally right. She needs help. And what the heck does she think roses are going to do? Your parents are already divorced. Roses aren't going to make them get a second one. Not the a-hole. I was about 17. She was 21, I think. Definitely not the a-hole. Your sister is unhinged. She definitely needs therapy. She's in denial. And I think about your father and why they divorced. And it's made her the way she is. So when this outburst happened, it's almost like she was in a dissociated state and was speaking as if she was a child again. I think that's giving her a little too much leeway. She 100% knows what she's doing. Not the a-hole, but you and her didn't live the same past. This was a really tough one for me to learn. That my trauma from our childhood isn't the same as my brother's and sister's trauma, even if we lived through the same event. It seems like these curses are a way for her to control things that can be controlled and are overwhelming for her. I get it seems like she's victimizing herself, but maybe she doesn't have the same emotional strength, mental skills, or tools that you do. It's okay you snapped. Family is super frustrating, but try to remember something that scares you doesn't scare someone else. Something that makes you laugh doesn't make someone else laugh. Trauma and memories are the same way. I get that, but after a certain amount of time, 20 years perhaps, we don't have to continue to be held hostage by someone else's traumatic outbursts. Update. Am I the a-hole for exposing an influencer to her family after she demanded a free painting and $200 on top of that, then threatening to tell her followers to not buy from me if I refused? Original post. My mom's goddaughter, let's call her Jen, 29 female, asked me, 25 female, to do a painting for her because she saw I did one for a mutual friend we'll call Anna. Jen wanted the painting as a gift for her father, who is a retired photographer. Here's the thing. Anna paid me for the painting, and everything went smoothly. She posted a picture of the painting with her mom as she was gifting it to her. Well, Jen saw that painting and became interested in one for her father. The problem is, she wanted me to do it for free. She said she would advertise it on her Instagram and tell her fans to buy from me in exchange for the painting. I told her no, as I am not in a great financial spot right now, and I cannot afford to do something for free. She wanted a custom-sized canvas, which is not commonly found in stores. I would either have to have it made myself or try to find it online for a reasonable price. I explained this to her, but she still didn't understand. She said I already had the materials on hand and that she didn't think art materials were that expensive. She accused me of being greedy and not having a vision for business, claiming that her exposure would be more valuable than my art. She also said she wanted me to pay her $200 on top of the free painting, arguing that with her help, I would make so much money, and companies pay her to review things. She pointed out that every creative artist or individual, including her father, did free work at the beginning. Everything went downhill when she noticed I wasn't replying, I was working, and she started talking down on me because I was let go from the military for medical reasons beyond my control. She said I had failed at everything, including that, and that she was giving me the option to succeed and make my parents proud. Since I wasn't replying, she called my mom to complain that I didn't want to do a free painting for her. As I mentioned, she's my mom's goddaughter and my mom seems to have a preference for her. Mom called me back and demanded I do the painting for free. I became enraged. Jen's words about my parents not being proud of me stuck in my head. So, I decided to draw a 2-second sketch and told her that was her free painting and to leave me alone. She became really angry and threatened to post on her socials, telling her followers not to buy from me and to ruin my art career. I've received a few phone calls from my mom, which I haven't answered, and some hate messages from what I assume are her followers. Am I the a-hole for exposing her texts to her family? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Info. Why would she call your mom? She's my mom's goddaughter. How well will it go over if you show this to your mom? Whatever you can do to mess her day up, so bad that she doesn't dare talk to you like this again, please do it. I don't have a good relationship with my mom. I feel like she would side with her. She's the perfect daughter. Something I was never for her, so... The more influencers who get exposed for the cons they are, the better. Expose away, not the a-hole. OP should also show her mom, then ask if she's paying for the canvas, any supplies needed, and the $200 fee to be promoted, which guarantees 0 commissions. Flat out no, I don't work for free. Show the girl's dad. This is what I came here to see. He's an artist. I'm sure he would be so proud of his baby girl for having 0 appreciation for the process, cost or heart that goes into the work. Jen sounds like a spoiled, insufferable brat. Now for the update. Hi everyone. Just wanted to give a quick update. I did tell her dad about it. We had a brief talk, and he told me she's been acting out due to problems in her relationship. Not sure if that's true. He also mentioned that she has been battling alcohol and substance abuse, which has made her more prone to picking fights. She has had recurrent issues, with family and friends complaining to him about it. He said it was his fault for always giving her what she wanted, and for raising her spoiled. Either way, he assured me that he was going to talk to her and ask her never to contact me again. He also asked me not to tell her boyfriend about it, as they are on the brink of separation. Her attitude toward others is one of the reasons they are having problems. Her dad is a sweetheart, and he's currently going through dialysis. I told him it's fine as long as she never contacts me or my family again. As for my mother, I've never gotten along with her, so I've blocked her for now. I'm not sure if it'll be forever, but I'm trying to find peace. For those who asked me to expose her publicly, I am not going to do that. That was never my plan. I never said I would. I only said I would expose her to her family. I appreciate all the support I've received and those who have reached out to check on me. Y'all are great. I would appreciate it if you guys didn't DM me asking for usernames, or if you are a news reporter. I really don't care, and I'm not here to get clout, as some say. I just wanted to know if I'd be in the wrong, and I got my verdict. This might not be the update y'all were wanting, but that's the only one I have for now. Edit. Due to the high number of people harassing me over not exposing her publicly, I will be deleting this post. For those doing that, you are no different than her. You don't get your way, and you start harassing someone? Seriously? Thanks to the good and sweet people who supported me. You're a class act, but please share your Insta or Etsy so we can support you. OP definitely shouldn't share that. What an enormous mistake that would be, and what a poorly thought out request you've made. Sounds like OP is navigating this whole thing well and understands the value of appropriate boundaries, both on Reddit and in life. You're the a-hole for having no backbone and not exposing her. Now she's going to victimize others because you failed to act. I hope you stub all your toes this week. People that give other people a pass for crap like this are entirely what is wrong with this world. More so than the bully themselves. Enablers are trash. I did expose her to her family like I said I would. I never said I would expose her publicly. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my nephew's tuition after he was rude to my son? So I hit it big at the steak casino last year. Like life-changing money. Everyone in the family suddenly has ideas about how I should spend my winnings. My sister's kid has been applying to state schools. He was over at Tower Place for a family barbecue last month when he started mocking my son about his gaming hobby, calling him a no-life loser, and saying he'll never move out of my basement. My son was in tears afterward. Kids already dealing with anxiety, and this sent him spiraling. Fast forward to last week, my sister calls demanding I pay for nephew's tuition since I have all this extra money just sitting around. I laughed and reminded her how her precious boy treated my son. She exploded saying it was just boys being boys, and I'm destroying his future over nothing. Now the whole family's blowing up my phone saying I'm being petty and vindictive. Look, I'm not obligated to fund his education regardless, but especially not after he made my kid cry. Am I the a-hole? Ignore that nephew. Buy him the book titled Don't Be a Pompous A-Hole to Your Cousin, whose daddy just hit it big at the casino, and you just crapped the bed. Should have told your sister it was just uncles being uncles when you decided not to pay. 1. Contact a financial advisor. 2. Block anyone with unsolicited suggestions on what to do with your money. Make sure the financial advisor has your interest at heart, not theirs. Read up on them before you pick someone. Do not, under any circumstances, go with someone who wants to sell you mutual funds. They are the most expensive investments and provide the least return to you personally. Do not hire any advisor that makes a commission on selling you investments, especially life insurance. Never buy insurance as an investment product. Only buy insurance for potential losses you can't pay for. Even if your nephew were a saint dropped down from heaven, you are under no obligation to cover his tuition. But congrats to your nephew, he did indeed get schooled. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling out my dad at a family gathering after he made a snide comment about my mom? So for some context, my parents split when I was 5, and my mom, 45 female, raised me, 23 female, entirely on her own. My dad, 48 male, was never really in the picture. He'd show up sporadically, make empty promises, and then disappear again. Meanwhile, my mom worked 2 jobs, sacrificed everything, and made sure I never felt like I was missing out. She's my hero, plain and simple. Now last weekend, my dad's side of the family had a big reunion and my dad invited me. I decided to go because I wanted to see my cousins and grandparents. Everything was fine until my dad made a comment during dinner talking about how hard it is to raise kids these days, and then said, "But I guess it's easier when you only have to do it part-time, huh?" while looking directly at me. At first I was confused. Easier? My mom worked herself to the bone to provide for me, and she did it completely alone. And then I realized that he wasn't saying it wasn't easier for her, but for himself. He was smugly patting himself on the back for barely being involved, as if his absence was some kind of gift to my mom, when in reality my mom struggled to make ends meet. I was furious. I don't remember what I said exactly, but it was something along the lines of, "You've been a bum this whole time, showing up whenever it was convenient for you while my mom gave up everything to raise me, and you're proud of it? Don't you dare act like you've done anyone favors for what you did." So yeah, the table went quiet. My dad looked embarrassed, tried to laugh it off, but I wasn't done. I told him he had no right to talk about parenting when he never acted like one. Now, some of my relatives are saying I was too harsh and that I humiliated him in front of everyone, that I should have just let it go because that's just how he is. Personally, I think he gets what he freaking deserves. I don't regret standing up for my mom and me. She's always put me first. Still, the backlash is making me think that maybe I did go a little too far. Should I have at least toned it down? Now for the top comments. Your dad made an insensitive, thoughtless comment, and you had a knee-jerk reaction. He should be glad you didn't react even more strongly. Good on you for sticking up for your mother. Your relatives who criticized you can eat a bag of you-know-whats. They're generally people I get along with decently well. I suppose they just wanted to keep the peace in a way, but I wasn't having it when he was being such an a-hole. Go figure. In addition to dumping all responsibility on your mom, it seems as if he didn't take you to visit and connect with his side of your family. That would really tick me off. Maybe to whoever hosted the reunion, you could call and apologize for your knee-jerk reaction. Let them know you were having a good time reconnecting with your dad's side of the family. And when he mocked your mom's efforts, you blew up because he belittled all her hard work. At the same time, he kept you from being closer to that side of the family. As long as nobody ended up in the ER, no harm, no foul. This is one party that everyone will remember. Good on you for that. You called out your irresponsible dad. I'm sure many a relative cheered inside as they agreed with every word you said. Not the a-hole. No, you are not the a-hole. You said it yourself. No regrets for standing up for your mom and yourself. He sucks. Oh yeah, I for sure don't regret calling him out. I just thought that maybe I took it a little too far when I did. But so far, the response to the thread has been that it was a fine response. So yeah, that's a relief. That's just how he is. It's why people continue to be a-holes their whole lives. No one bothers to tell them they are a-holes. Good for you. Time for no contact with Mr. Sperm Donor. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister if mom isn't good enough for her? Then neither am I, and we're not sisters anymore? I, 21 female, have a sister Lola, 16 female. We have the same mom, but different dads. Her dad cheated on my mom when she was 1 and left to be with the other woman, and he wasn't in her life for a couple of years. He only started being a dad to her when his relationship with the other woman broke down. But by the time Lola was 7, they were back together. Lola's dad and his wife were awful to me and my mom. She used to call me a little brat and called my mom other, less kind things. She'd even comment about all the stuff Lola had because she had a dad and I didn't. Behind the scenes, her dad's wife was in her ear, making all these claims that my mom wasn't a good person and making up crazy stuff. Like how my mom had stabbed her dad in the stomach, and that's why they broke up. Or how my mom stopped Lola from traveling with her dad and his wife, and how they wanted to take her all over the world, but my mom said no. Lola was spoiled by her dad's wife, and it made her act like that woman was the best person. My mom brought it up in court and even got a therapist involved for Lola as proof. But Lola never said what her dad's wife told her. She told me, but I didn't count as proof. So in court, my mom couldn't do anything. Lola's dad and his wife were warned that parental alienation was serious and stuff, but nothing happened. After court, her dad's wife treated us worse, and Lola got even closer to her and started treating my mom like crap. It all led to Lola saying in court that she wanted to live with her dad and never with my mom. The court gave Lola permission to choose. She said my mom wasn't good enough to be her mom, and her dad's wife had shown her what an actual good mom will do for her kid. But she wanted a relationship with me still. She called me and invited me over and wanted to hang out. And after she called a few times, I told her to stop trying to hang out with me. I told her the way she treated my mom, the fact she said my mom wasn't good enough for her, meant I'm not either, and told her since she has a new mom, we're not sisters anymore. Lola cried on the phone and asked me why I was being so cruel, and I told her I didn't like the person she'd become, and to go cry to her new mommy, since she was so into everything that evil witch said. Lola's dad went nuts over it, and because Lola was crying, my mom got called about it and was told I needed to apologize. My mom asked me if I really made Lola cry, and I said yeah. I told her I didn't want to speak to her while she was being like that. I said if she doesn't care how that woman treats us, then 16 or not, I'm done with her. My mom understood. She knows how awful her ex's wife is. But am I the a-hole for what I said to my sister? Not the a-hole. She's 16 and old enough to know that some people are talking Fafo. She can now try to find the truth for herself, if she wants to. Now that stepmom can't use her to hurt biomom, she's very likely to find out the truth with some first-hand experience. Abusers don't just stop abusing when they lose their victim, they just move on to the next. People saying she is old enough to know what they are doing is pretty crazy. Both OP and the sister are young. I wouldn't be so quick to say you are done with your sister. Things change after 10 plus years. I hope you both are able to mend your relationship in the future. I think everyone sucks here. The relationship won't heal if she treats mom like dirt and doesn't apologize for siding with someone who was nasty to mom and to me. But I don't think she'll ever do that when she's the spoiled princess over there. Not at all. Your sister is an immature child, obvious since she's just a kid. But I would not give her even an inch of grace at this point. She has to apologize to both you and your mom. OP, you do not owe her anything, but this very important lesson you have taught her. Actions have consequences. If she learns from it and can prove she is contrite, then of course you should forgive her. But that is miles down the road. If it ever happens, yes, it's miles down the road. Part of me doubts it will, because it's too easy for her to keep being the spoiled princess there. Update. Am I the a-hole for denying my sister's lies in front of her in-laws? Original post. I am 25 female and have an older sister, Kate, 30 female. She and I were never close due to our age difference, and because she hated that our dad married my mom and had me after divorcing her mother. Kate claims dad told her he never loved her mother, and that my mom was his true love, that our dad always compared the two of us and asked her why she had to be a difficult child, and that overall, dad loved me more. On the other hand, dad claims nothing she says is true, that she was very problematic and insolent. These claims are backed up by my mother and dad's parents, so I assume Kate was never 100% honest. Anyways, these are their problems and do not concern me. Some time ago, Kate reached out to me and told me she got engaged. I said congrats and everything. She told me she had a favor to ask. She said her mother-in-law is very family-oriented and that it does not sit well with her that Kate is estranged from her family. In her words, her future mother-in-law believed something must also be wrong with Kate, and that she was partly to blame for being no contact with her family, fearing Kate might influence her son to do the same. What Kate wanted from me was for me to meet her in-laws, so they could see she doesn't hate her family. I joked that her future mother-in-law sounded a little intense, and I agreed to help her because, at the end of the day, I never hated her. And I don't think she hated me either. The fact that we are not close doesn't mean we hate each other or want bad things to happen to one another. Anyway, I went to meet Kate, her future husband, and her mother-in-law and father-in-law at a restaurant. They were very nice people and very warm. At some point, mother-in-law said something along the lines of being happy to see that the abuse we suffered didn't affect our sisterly bond. I was confused and asked what abuse she was talking about, while Kate tried to change the subject. Mother-in-law said it was okay, that I had nothing to be ashamed of, and that she knew from Kate our parents abused us while growing up. I clarified that this was not true. We were never abused by our parents or anyone in our family. We were raised in a very loving family. We were never hit or spanked no matter what we did. Our parents are well off, so we always had everything we wanted: clothes, phones, laptops, cars, etc. Mother-in-law got very, very angry. She apologized to me and started insulting my sister. She called her a liar, accused her of being manipulative, and said she was trying to insert herself into their family by being dishonest. What happened is that Kate accused our parents of many things that are not true. Now Kate is accusing me of ruining her life. She says her engagement is over, her in-laws hate her, and her fiancé doesn't trust her anymore. The thing is, I don't think I did anything wrong. I cannot sit and hear people blasting my parents for her lies and for things that never happened. But still, am I the a-hole for telling the truth? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Kate made a decision to lie, and then it bit her in the butt. Sounds like she made her bed and she can lie in it. Seriously though, how dumb is she? If she told her future mother-in-law something that big, of course she would bring it up to you. And if Kate expected you to lie for her, she really is special. And not in the good way, in the eats paste way. I assume she never expected her mother-in-law to be so blunt and tell me? I don't know, but yeah, it's stupid. I'd put money on the mother-in-law already knowing she was full of it to begin with, and this just confirmed it for her. She probably caught her in other lies, saying things that just don't add up, etc. That's why she was so blunt about it. And as for her relationship, if it can be destroyed with the truth, it should be. Not the a-hole. If you asked my sister if we were abused, she'd answer no. The fact is that two siblings can have wildly different childhoods within the same household. My sister is the golden child who needs to be handled delicately and saved regularly. I'm the independent child who's magically supposed to save everyone and take all the nonsense. Your sister was either lying or she was stupid. I would never ask my sister to vouch for my reality because I know she doesn't share it. Now for the update days later. So a lot has happened during these last few days that generated even more drama. But before I get into that, I want to express a big thank you to those who commented and provided their feedback. After reading your comments, some things started making more sense, and honestly, it brought a lot of perspective to things I had missed. Also, I got really mad reading every little comment from those who projected their own messy family life onto my family. I realized the magnitude her words and claims can really have. People called my parents abusive, invented things that never happened, and started projecting what her life must have been like. Some even claimed my mom ruined her family, when my mom didn't even meet my father before his divorce. So it was a shock to see that strangers who somehow hear her stories might believe everything she says without even doubting a word, or even add their own dramas into the picture to feed her fantasy. The major thing that happened was that one day her ex-fiancé reached out to me via Facebook. He apologized for how things went during the meeting with his parents and asked if I was willing to have a chat with him because he wanted to check my version of the things Kate had told him. I explained that I didn't want to do this behind her back because I didn't think it was fair, but if he could manage to convince her for the three of us to have a conversation, I was all in. I also told him there were a lot of things I needed to confront her about, and I would really feel more comfortable with a witness there. For 2 days, I heard nothing from them, and then yesterday, the big conversation happened. We scheduled a call in the evening because everyone felt more comfortable that way. I'll say from the start that I had nothing to do with convincing my sister to attend the talk. This was her decision after discussing it with her ex. From what I understand, she agreed to it, hoping that, in the end, her fiancé would take her back. Unfortunately, I will admit, her ex and I kind of ganged up on her because we both had many questions, and she was the one to provide answers. Some of the answers I got from her. Why did she lie about being abused by our parents? She claimed she did not specifically mention me as being abused, but admitted she did not correct her mother-in-law when she misunderstood. So she knew her mother-in-law was under the impression that our parents abused both of us, but didn't correct her. When her fiancé asked why, she said she felt that by not correcting her, the mother-in-law would stop viewing her as the problem, knowing that there were two of us in the same situation. She still claimed she was abused by our parents. When I asked for specific examples, she first said, "You know very well what happened," but both her fiancé and I insisted. Some of the things she mentioned were, when she was a teenager, she was often punished while I was not, which to her indicated I was loved more. And this, in her view, was abuse. Keep in mind that when she was 14 to 15, I was only 9 to 10, and she was doing things like getting suspended for smoking during class and skipping school. How was I supposed to be punished alongside her? She said I was also doing bad things but was never punished, while she was. Her fiancé asked her verbatim, "So you claim you were abused because you were punished for smoking in class, while the bad things your younger sister did were maybe drawing on walls? How do you assume it would be fair to punish such different actions the same way?" She wasn't able to answer. She claimed she was financially abused by our parents because they wouldn't give her money for fun activities, school trips, or events when she misbehaved. This was an example of punishments she would often receive. Her fiancé asked her if our parents provided her with basic things like food, clothes, and school supplies, and she said yes. He mentioned that parents are not obligated to fund trips and fun activities, so how was she financially abused? I asked if she ever thinks about the things she did wrong toward our family. She claimed she knew she wasn't a saint, but she was a child. I pointed out that at 17, you are not a child, and you know better than to swear at your grandmother. Her fiancé had no idea about any of this, so I explained some very nasty things she did and said. One time, we were getting ready to go to our cousin's baptism, and she wanted to wear a black t-shirt with a pentagram on it. Grandma asked her to change because it wasn't appropriate for a baptism. Kate called her an old, outdated freaking hag. Her fiancé brought up a story Kate told him and his parents about an incident where my parents abused her by confiscating her car, leaving her to walk to school during winter. What she failed to mention was that they confiscated her car because of a DUI, which she treated like it wasn't a big deal. And secondly, she never had to walk to school during winter. She could have taken the bus. And in reality, even without a car, she carpooled with a classmate. This triggered her ex a lot because, unfortunately, he lost his grandfather to a drunk driver. So even knowing this, Kate lied and turned her story into a soap opera just to make herself look like a victim. I asked her ex if she ever said negative things about me, and he said no. She only mentioned instances where our parents treated us differently, but always pointed out that they were doing it to turn us against each other. Based on the stories she told, she apparently never blamed me or said anything negative about me. The entire ordeal lasted about 3 hours, and by the end, I was exhausted. I told her that even if we were never very close as sisters, I have always loved her and considered her my sister, period. Not half, just my only sister. I told her I understand that our parents could have handled things differently, and that maybe she didn't receive all the help she needed to adjust to a stepmother and a new family dynamic, but I am now judging her as an adult. An adult who should know not to lie, not to play the victim, and who should take responsibility for her actions. As people pointed out in my last post, I advised her to get therapy and work through her issues. But until that happens, I cannot continue to have a relationship with her. She accused me of favoring our parents over her, but I told her I favor the truth over lies, and she should be ashamed of herself. So that's what happened between me and Kate. I have no idea what happened, or what will happen, with her ex, but based on how things turned out, I really doubt he will give her another chance. He made it clear that she cannot be trusted and pointed out something his mother told him. If she's capable of lying in such a way about her own parent, what might she be capable of saying about him? He said he wouldn't be surprised if she later accused him of being abusive, since that seems to be her narrative. But that's her own problem. She made this bed for herself. I remember your last post. While I did suspect correctly that her experience growing up would be different from yours, I knew from the get-go she was up to something nefarious. She could have been honest, but instead she lied and expected you to cover for her. The story about her DUI made me lose any ounce of sympathy I may have had for her situation. Since she's a liar and may lash out at you, I suggest you talk to your parents about what happened so that they are aware and not caught off guard when it eventually gets back to them. I told them everything that happened so they can be aware. What was very, very hard to digest was the way they reacted. They were not angry, not enraged. They were just like, yeah, we expected that much from her. This feels so similar to my niece and how she views her relationship with my sister, her stepmother, and my brother-in-law. She too claimed emotional and financial abuse, despite her claims being complete BS. In the long run, this has broken her relationship with her own half-sister, as well as with her dad and stepmom. The rest of us have to walk on eggshells when dealing with her because she'll cut off contact for months on end if we say something she doesn't agree with. Even though she's not related by blood, none of my siblings consider her less than family. Very similar to how you always consider your sister your sister. I wish my experience could provide you insight, but I don't know how to fix broken people. I think therapy is the right choice. Maybe, considering your bond, you can go to family counseling with her. I've yet to get my niece to go to family counseling with me, but it's a different relationship. I think you have a chance to go to family counseling and help resolve some issues where my family doesn't. I hope the best for you, and I hope your sister finds the peace she's missing. I am willing to support her, only if she admits her mistakes and goes to therapy. By admitting her mistakes, I mean also apologizing for all the lies she told. I never saw the impact such claims could have until I posted here for the first time. Being used to her behavior, I think I excused her ways as being dramatic, but I now understand how such claims can easily be believed by strangers, which is not okay for the people being accused. I also hope your niece gets some sense and improves. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not babysitting my sister's kid after she said my infertility makes me the perfect aunt? I, 32 female, found out last year that I can't have children. It was devastating. I don't really want to get into the medical side of it here, but it's been a hard pill to swallow. I've been in therapy, trying to process everything, and honestly, it's been rough. My husband, 34 male, has been amazing through all of it. We've talked about maybe adopting someday, but right now I'm still just grieving. My younger sister, 29 female, had a baby about 8 months ago. She's always been kind of oblivious. Like she doesn't mean to be rude, but sometimes the stuff that comes out of her mouth is just wild. Anyway, ever since the baby was born, she's been hinting that I should help out more. She'll say things like, "You're so good with him, you were meant to be a mom." Or, "He loves you, you've got that maternal energy," which I guess is sweet on the surface, but also makes me feel like crap because I can't actually be a mom. Then last week, she asked if I could watch the baby for 3 days straight while she and her boyfriend went on a last-minute trip to Vegas. 3 days. Not even like, "Can you watch him for a few hours?" And I work full-time from home. I literally can't just drop everything to play nanny. When I told her no, she got weirdly passive-aggressive and said, "Well, I just thought since you don't have kids, and probably never will, you'd appreciate the experience. Some of us don't get time off from being moms, you know." I just stared at her, like, what the actual heck? That's when I snapped and said, "You know what? Maybe you should have thought of that before having a baby with someone who treats you like a backup plan. I'm not your free babysitter just because my uterus doesn't work." She got all teary and said I was being bitter and jealous, and that I should be grateful to have a baby in my life at all. We haven't spoken since. My mom says I was cruel and that I should apologize. My husband says she had it coming. I feel like I maybe could have kept my cool better, but I'm just so tired of people acting like being childless means I'm supposed to step in whenever someone else needs help with theirs. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister is entitled and spoiled, and when she didn't get her way, she poked the bear, said something extremely hurtful, and deserved everything you said to her. Also, screw your mom for taking your sister's side. You have to apologize? You're not the a-hole. I was just astonished that someone could say something so callously hurtful and then get support for it from your mother. Sure, she can apologize. Sis, I am sorry you are a cruel, self-centered, insensitive to the feelings of others, and somehow overly sensitive about your own feelings, bitch. It must be so hard for you to live, knowing others find you intolerable to be around. Forgive me for pointing out your obvious flaws. See? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Listen to your husband. He sounds like a saint. Just because you can't have kids doesn't mean you are childless by choice. That choice was literally taken from you. So sorry for that. Your sister is just clueless. Don't apologize, but maybe after a couple weeks or whenever the dust has settled, sit your sister down and spell it out for her. The hurt, the frustration, the anger, and how what she says is just mean. Or don't say anything, and you still wouldn't be the a-hole. I'm not sure that she is clueless. Those sound like some pretty pointed digs at OP, trying to bully and taunt her into on-call babysitting submission. Even if OP was childless by choice, it does not make OP's sister's comments better. I'm childless by choice, but nobody is entitled to my time. It's my choice who I want to spend time with or babysitter for. And to act like she's doing OP a favor by letting her babysit is just gross.